equals the city of San Francisco sprawled beneath me, a shimmering expanse of glass and steel framed by the churning blue of the Pacific. I stood at my apartment window on the 23rd floor, my fingers tracing the cold surface of the glass, watching the evening fog roll in like some ghostly apparition. It was a sight that once filled me with a sense of peace, a reminder of why I had chosen this city, with its vibrant energy that mirrored the chaos inside me. But tonight, the beauty felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the fire of vengeance igniting within me. Everything changed 6 months ago, the day Jeremy betrayed me, but tonight was the night it would all begin to unfold. I took a deep breath, inhaling the mix of salt and smoke that wafted in from the bay. I could feel the weight of my heart, heavy with the truths I had buried deep. "Clara, give it a rest," I muttered to myself, shaking my head as I stepped away from the window. The shadows in my living room seemed to close in as I paced, each creak of the wooden floorboards echoing my anxious heartbeat. Images of Jeremy flickered across my mind, his charming smile, the way he always knew how to make me laugh, and then came the piercing memory of that text I found last fall. "Can't wait to see you again. Just you and me," it had said. My stomach twisted as the pain resurfaced. Was I too naive to think he could ever be faithful? He made a fool of me," I whispered, gripping the edge of the marble kitchen counter. I had been so blind, too busy chasing my dreams and ignoring the signs, while he was sneaking around behind my back. Every morning I had woken up excited to dive into my work as a graphic designer, only to be knocked down every evening by the reality of my crumbling relationship. My phone buzzed on the countertop, pulling me from my thoughts. It was a message from my best friend, Lisa. "Hey girl, are we still on for tonight? I need to unwind." I took a moment before typing back. "Absolutely, see you soon." I needed the distraction, the laughter that filled the air when we were together, even if it felt tainted by what was brewing inside of me. The doorbell rang not long after, and I opened it to find Lisa standing there with a wide grin and a bottle of wine clutched in her hand. "I bring the party," she declared, her short, curly hair bouncing as she stepped inside. The warmth of her presence flooded the space, filling it with a sense of normalcy that had been missing. "You look like you need this," she said, unscrewing the cap with practiced ease and pouring a generous glass. "Here's to forgetting all the nonsense." I clinked my glass with hers, forcing a smile despite the turmoil raging inside me. "To forgetting," I echoed, the sound hollow in my ears. "So what's the plan for our unwinding?" Lisa asked, plopping down on the couch and kicking off her shoes. Her laughter was infectious, and I tried to match her enthusiasm. "I thought we could binge-watch that new series everyone is raving about. It is that guy from the action movie you love." "Oh yeah, the one who does all the crazy stunts, and the plot is about what, revenge?" Her eyes lit up, and I could see the delight in her features as she settled in. "Perfect, I can get into that," I said, my mind already wandering back to my own schemes of revenge. The more we talked, the more I could feel the anger within me brewing, building until I felt like a shaken can of soda ready to burst. "You know, it's a shame you're still hung up on that jerk, Clara," Lisa said bluntly, her tone shifting when she saw the moment of discomfort on my face. "He is not worth your time." "I know," I replied, swallowing hard as I clenched my glass. "But it's harder than it seems. I keep thinking about all the moments we had together, the plans we made. But those plans are ruined now. You deserve so much better than some two-timing loser." Her voice took on a passionate edge as she leaned closer, her expressive hands punctuating every word. "You are strong, smart, beautiful. You don't need that dead weight dragging you down. Easy for you to say, you haven't been through it." I shot back, caught up in my feelings. The air turned tense between us, but Lisa softened her stare. "You're right, I haven't. But I've seen you, Clara, and I know you're capable of so much more. You cannot let him define your worth." I felt the warmth of her words squeezing my heart. But deep inside, a twisted little voice screamed at me to stop thinking of what I had lost and instead think of what I could reclaim. "Maybe you're right," I murmured, taking a large gulp of wine to drown the emotional block threatening to spill over. "Still, it's complicated." Before long, the tension eased back, and we settled down to watch. 2 episodes flew by as we laughed and gasped at every twist. But the themes of betrayal and vengeance started to seep into my mind, feeding an insidious plan that slinked into the corners of my consciousness, urging me to take action. At one point, Lisa turned to me and said, "I can see those wheels turning in your head. What are you thinking about?" I hesitated, emotions battling inside me. Should I tell her the truth? "You wouldn't believe me if I said I was thinking about revenge," I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. Lisa raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "You, Miss Nice Girl, what do you have in mind?" "I don't know, maybe something to get back at Jeremy." The air hung thick as her eyes widened. "Clara, are you serious? You really want to do something?" "I mean, what if I could make him understand how it feels to be betrayed?" I found myself warming to the idea, my breath quickening at the thought of executing my plan. What if I made him feel a fraction of the pain he caused me? "What do you even want to do? Seriously, you are not a vengeful person." "Oh, come on, I may not be the poison pen type, but sometimes a little poetic justice can be satisfying," I said with a playful smirk, channeling my inner schemer, feeding off the moment's adrenaline. "Okay, Miss Innocent, enlighten me," Lisa chuckled, a mixture of skepticism and excitement in her gaze. "What kind of revenge are we talking about? Maybe I could show him that I have moved on, that I am happier without him. Wouldn't he hate that?" The wheels were turning faster now, momentum building. "You think he would even care?" Lisa mused, shrugging her shoulders. "I mean, he has a new girl, right? That is exactly the point." I will make sure he knows I am doing better than him, that I'm living my best life, I proclaimed, a hint of mischief creeping into my tone. And maybe I will find a way to disrupt his little world while I am at it. Now we are getting somewhere, she laughed, the sound brightening my spirits. We dived deeper into the possibilities, bantering back and forth. The more I spoke, the more the concept took shape in my mind. Ideas swirled, becoming real in the flickering illumination of the television screen, each revelation cementing my determination. As we wrapped up the fourth episode, a sense of purpose replaced the fog of despair that had settled over me. I had a plan. It would not be just a fleeting thought. It would grow into an intricate web of calculated chaos designed to expose Jeremy's betrayal and make him regret every moment spent with me. You really think you can pull this off? Lisa asked, narrowing her eyes with a mix of disbelief and admiration. Just watch me, I said, my voice steady. I'm ready to take control of my life, and that includes getting the last word on this. Well, if you need a partner in crime, you know where to find me, Lisa winked, raising her glass in a toast. To your glorious revenge. To my glorious revenge, I echoed, lifting my glass dramatically. The sentiment pushed through the remnants of my heartache, nuclear energy fueling my determination. Laughter melted into silence as we ventured into deeper, darker threads of conversation, every word an opportunity for me to distill my anger into something tangible, something impactful. Beneath the veil of jest lay my fierce conviction, and with each passing moment I no longer felt like a victim. Instead, I felt like a warrior gearing up for a battle, a plan taking shape to turn my pain into power. As the credits rolled on the last episode, I glanced at the clock. It was late, but sleep was far from my mind. I needed to sketch it out, to lay down the blueprint of my revenge before it slipped away into the haze of night. I waved goodbye to Lisa, my heart beating quick with adrenaline as I headed to my desk, barely registering anything else around me. My mind raced with possibilities, crafting a narrative that would ensnare Jeremy in a net of his own making. As I settled into my chair, papers sprawling out around me, I realized this was only the beginning of something transformative. The fog outside may have rolled in, but it had no chance against the fire that had ignited in my belly. Everything had changed, and there was no turning back. Revenge would be mine, and it was time to bring my vision to life. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow across the San Francisco skyline. I stared out of my apartment window, watching the troublesome traffic below. The twinkling lights began to flicker on, reflecting my own simmering thoughts. It had only been a few hours since I last saw Alex, and the taste of betrayal still lingered like a bitter aftertaste. I turned away from the window, refocusing on the task ahead of me. The plan was set in motion, and I could feel the electric tension in the air around me. Maybe I should call Lily, I mumbled to myself, pacing the small living room. My fingers drummed against the mahogany coffee table, the rhythm quickening with each heartbeat. No, not yet. I don't want to involve her until I know exactly what I'm doing. Lily was my best friend, the one person I could trust with my deepest secrets, but I also didn't want to drag her into the storm I was concocting. She had a knack for calming me down, yet now, as my anger brewed, I needed to keep her at arm's length. The last thing I needed was for someone to come along and talk me out of what I had to do. I glanced at the clock, the hands ticking towards evening. The betrayal was still raw. I replayed every moment Alex and I had shared, every laugh and every touch, as if possessing a treasure I now had to throw away. I remembered how he looked when he walked out this morning, his self-satisfied smirk buried beneath layers of charm that I had once found irresistible. You think you can just smile and sweet-talk your way out of this, I whispered to myself, clenching my fists. You have no idea what's coming. When we had started dating, Alex was the perfect gentleman. He knew my favorite flowers, that I hated olives, and that I always wanted to watch documentaries on Saturday nights. His charm was like an intoxicating spell. But now the reality hit harder than a freight train. I had uncovered his deceit, his affair. I could replay that horrible moment in the coffee shop when I saw him with Tessa, my former colleague and supposed friend. The laughter they shared, the way he wrapped his arm around her shoulder, it was a sight that shattered my very foundation. Nobody does this to Clara Jennings, I muttered fiercely, my resolve hardening like steel. I had to make him pay, to let him know that the consequences of his actions were far-reaching. Revenge was a sweet nectar, one that would fill the void he had created. I strode towards my small desk, cluttered with papers and scattered pens, where my laptop awaited, a source of information and inspiration. The soft hum of technology came to life as I opened the laptop, typing "how to ruin someone's reputation" into the search bar. Words weren't enough. I needed something concrete, something irreversible. As I scrolled, each article that appeared was filled with malicious ideas and strategies I had once written off as cruel. My heart raced as I marinated in these thoughts, envisioning the real impact of my actions. A mood of excitement washed over me, the thrill of the hunt. Just then my phone buzzed and I nearly leaped out of my chair. It was Lily, checking in as always. Hey Clara, do you want to grab dinner later? We could hit that new sushi place in the Mission. I hesitated for a moment, fingers hovering over the keyboard. No, I can't tonight, I'm busy. Rain check. Busy? You, that is rare. I hope it's something good, she replied, the curiosity palpable in her text. I could almost imagine her raised eyebrows, that comforting shrewdness oozing out even through the screen. I bit my lip, uncertain of how much to reveal. Nothing major, just tied up with work. Okay, if you say so. Just make sure to take care of yourself. Call me if you need to chat. There it was again, her unwavering support and intuition. I will, thanks, talk later. I tossed the phone aside with a sigh, frustrated with myself for holding back. I needed to execute my plan without distractions. Then it struck me I'd pull Tessa into the mix. After all, it was her betrayal that had been the last straw. Using her would not only serve as a decoy but also would add to my scheme. She embodied everything toxic that I wanted to expose in Alex. I grinned devilishly, feeling the spark of mischief take shape in my mind. Tessa had always carried an air of superiority, a belief that she was untouchable, and her recent mistake left an opening. I could ratchet up the pressure, make her squirm. I had her number tucked neatly away in my contact list. With trembling fingers, I hit call, hearing the ringing tone in my ear like a countdown to the chaos to come. Clara. What a surprise! Tessa's cheerful voice echoed through the phone, layered with an insincere sweetness that made me cringe. Hey Tessa, long time no talk, huh? I forced enthusiasm, keeping my voice light, masking the bitterness simmering ever so slightly beneath. Yeah, I've been busy with work as usual. What's up? You sound a bit off. Oh, just wanted to catch up. How's everything with you? Still enchanting Alex with all your captivating conversation. Her laughter came like tinkling bells, so carefree it felt almost criminal. You know me, Clara, just trying to be the best. I thought I noticed you a little tense in the office lately, working too hard. Let's just say I have been trying to learn a few things from you, I replied, leaning against the wall, my heart pounding. Actually, I heard about a fantastic event happening next Friday at the gallery downtown. I figured I could invite you and Alex. It might be fun to reconnect. Sure, I would like that, she chirped, her enthusiasm amping up. You could even let me borrow your stylish dress. You should be the one showing off. Oh, you'll look great in it too, especially with how you flaunt your new relationship. How, look who's talking, she teased back, oblivious to my simmering intentions. But I mean it, I really think it's nice you two are still going strong. You are the perfect couple. I mulled over her words, they felt like poison, but I simply smiled. Thanks, Tessa. Can I count on you to bring that green purse you seem to flaunt everywhere? Of course, she answered. You know it's a statement piece, just like us. We'll show everyone what a great time looks like. Perfect, I'll text you the details, I replied, my smile widening as I pictured the event. I could already see Alex laughing and relaxing, unaware that I was orchestrating his downfall. All it would take was a little glue to attach them to the horrifying truth. Once we hung up, a sense of satisfaction washed over me. I put my phone down and returned to the laptop, digging deeper into my plan. My fingers danced over the keys, clicking through articles and gathering information, each line feeding my anger with sweet validation. I began crafting messages I could share, stories that would seem innocuous but would set Tessa up for a spectacular fall. As I scrolled through the screen, my heart began to race at the prospect of revenge. The words flowed from my fingertips like an elegant dance of poetic justice, each scenario more elaborate than the last. I drafted potential gossip to spread at the gallery, concocted whispered rumors in the quiet corners of social networks. I would plant the seeds of distrust in such a way that the truth would unravel into something beautifully chaotic. Rule number 1 of revenge, I told myself, never get attached. Maintain a layer of detachment, feel nothing but the thrill of the hunt. I shut my eyes, envisioning myself at the gallery, the echoes of laughter alternating with gasps of disbelief when Tessa's true colors were revealed. Suddenly my phone buzzed again, pulling me from that delicious reverie. It was a message from Lily. Just checking, I worry you are not yourself lately. Mind if I come over tomorrow? I hesitated, knowing I couldn't reveal even the slightest hint of my intentions. I have a lot going on, maybe just keep texting for now. I promise I will be okay. All right, just remember I am here. Take care. Thanks, I will. As I closed my laptop, I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. The weight of my revenge rested heavily upon me, yet there was a lightness, a sense of purpose that accompanied it. The initial shock of the betrayal, the heartbreak, had morphed into fierce determination. I could envision my plan unfolding perfectly, the pieces fitting together just so. However, there was one last detail to attend to, something that would set my entire scheme in motion. I needed to find a way to ensure Alex would be at the gallery next Friday without fail. And there, in the back of my mind, sparked the perfect idea. I stood straight as the realization swept over me like a tidal wave. Delivery, I whispered, exhilarated by the thought. I could fabricate an invitation, something that proclaimed the gallery as an exclusive event. He wouldn't be able to say no. My heart raced as I skimmed through sample designs for invites, scrolling through various templates that would suggest just the kind of high-end event that could easily lure him in. The night was still young, the city dancing beneath me, and I had all I needed to unleash the storm. With each keystroke and every silent breath, I was officially committed to the unfolding of my vengeful plot. As I crafted the elaborate invitation, I imagined Alex receiving it, his smile of recognition fading into confusion as the invite morphed into the perfect bait. I could almost hear the conversations buzzing, the whispers of scandal brewing, and a smile broke across my face. Get ready, Alex, I said softly, imagining his jovial face trapped in bewilderment. Your time is coming. Tomorrow could be the dawn of his reckoning, and I felt invincible. Revenge is sweet, and I am just getting started. The fog rolled over San Francisco like a shroud, thick and impenetrable, wrapping the city in a layer of silence that felt both comforting and suffocating. It was early evening and the dim streetlights flickered, casting long shadows that danced across the pavement. I could hardly make out the outlines of the buildings. As I stood outside the dimly lit cafe, the scent of roasted coffee and fresh pastries wafted through the air, mingling with the dampness that clung to the city's streets. I pulled up the collar of my jacket, wishing it could shield me from more than just the cold. My heart raced, but not from the chill. This was it. This was the moment I had spent months planning and dreaming of. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the familiar scent of espresso, and pushed the heavy glass door open. The warmth of the cafe enveloped me like a long-lost embrace, and I stepped inside with purpose. As I scanned the room, my eyes landed on Derek. He was sitting at a small table in the corner, a half-empty cup of coffee steaming in front of him. He looked just as I remembered, tousled brown hair, those piercing blue eyes I had once adored, and the ever-present smirk that spelled trouble. For a fleeting moment, a pang of nostalgia washed over me, but it dissipated quickly, replaced by a rush of anger that surged through my veins like wildfire. I approached his table, each step deliberate, the sound of my shoes muted by the background chatter and clinking of silverware. "Derek," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "Mind if I join you?" He looked up, surprise flashing across his face before his trademark grin returned. "Clara, I didn't expect to see you here. Of course, have a seat." He gestured like he was welcoming an old friend, and I forced a smile as I slid into the chair opposite him. "So what brings you to this part of town?" I asked, keeping my tone light. I had rehearsed this conversation in my mind more times than I could count, and each time I practiced maintaining control. "Oh, you know me," he shrugged, nonchalant. "Just enjoying the local coffee scene. I've moved back to the city. More opportunities, you know." I nodded, my disdain barely masked. "Opportunities, huh? Funny how things change. Just a couple of years ago, you'd have done anything to escape this place." "Life's full of surprises," he replied with that same careless tone I remembered. "What about you, still working at the gallery?" I swallowed hard, forcing my mind back to the artwork I loved and the long hours spent cultivating connections. "I am, but I've traded in some of that for a more exciting venture," I said, letting the words hang in the air, heavy with suggestion. "I've become, how did I put it, an artist in my own right." His interest peaked, his brow raised. "Oh, that sounds intriguing. Are you showcasing some work?" "Something like that," I said, feeling the excitement well up inside. "It's more of a personal project, but I think you would appreciate it." "Enlighten me," he replied, leaning forward, a teasing look in his eyes that dared me to share more. I took a second. "This is it, Clara. You have to do this. Show him the stakes. You remember the art exhibit we had across town, the one where you were supposed to show up to support me, but you didn't?" His smile faltered, replaced by a flicker of annoyance. "I had things going on, you know that." "Right," I said, my voice calm but with an underlying tension that felt electric. "You had more important priorities, like playing house with Jane." At the mention of her name, I watched as his expression shifted, a tautness creeping in. "Let's not go there, Clara," he warned, the lightness of the conversation evaporating. "I think we should," I challenged, my determination growing. "After all, you never left my life when it mattered. You simply walked away, but your choices echo into my present." He shifted uncomfortably, running a hand through his hair as if trying to brush off the past. "It was complicated. You can't hold me accountable for my choices, Claire." "But I can," I said, my voice firm. "You see, Derek, it's fascinating how you think you can just move on and bury the past like it never happened. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can't, because I haven't. Not for one second. Do you ever get tired of rehashing old wounds?" He retorted, an edge creeping into his voice. "We can't keep blaming each other for things that are done. This is pointless." "Is it?" I leaned in, my heart pounding. "Because to me it seems like you want to brush everything under the rug. You left me in the dust while you moved on to big things with your perfect life. But casual is not how I play this game, Derek." He narrowed his eyes, reading me like I was some unfamiliar book. "What game?" "The one you started in my life," I said fiercely, feeling my pulse quicken. "You took everything that mattered to me, tore it apart like it meant nothing, and expected me to stand by like an antique in some gallery." His gaze darkened, and for a brief moment I saw the truth flash in his eyes. Regret? Guilt? I couldn't be sure, but I could sense it in the way he shifted in his seat. "Clara, I didn't mean for things to end up like this," he murmured, his voice softer now, like he was attempting to reach out. "No," I said, shaking my head. "You meant to walk away and pretend it never happened. Well, let's be clear, I'm not finished yet." I could feel tension crackling like electricity in the air, and I leaned back, a satisfied smirk threatening to break through my carefully crafted facade. I watched Derek wrestle with his thoughts, the discomfort swirling around us like the fog outside, thickening into something tangible. "Let's talk about the art exhibit," I suggested, suddenly catching him off guard. "You remember, right, the one you sabotaged when you broke our deal?" He looked genuinely confused now, as if he had just stepped into a world where everything was turned upside down. "What are you saying? I didn't sabotage anything." "Didn't you?" I pushed, leaning closer, my voice lowering. "You knew how important it was to me. I poured my soul into every piece, every brushstroke, and you completely ghosted me while showing up at that gala with Jane, parading your new life like a trophy you never earned. I needed you there, Derek, and you broke me when it mattered most." Laughter bubbled up uncontrollably, so full of hurt that it hurt to sound genuine. "Do you ever stop for a second to consider how much you actually took from me?" He shifted uncomfortably, the color draining from his cheeks as realization dawned on him. "Clara," the pit in my stomach simmered as I continued, "I took my pain and twisted it into something beautiful. I refused to be broken, Derek, but you thought you could just walk away. Well, here I am, and I'm finally ready to show you what I really became." He opened his mouth to respond, but nothing came out. In that moment, it was as if the walls of the cafe closed in around us, compressing the tension hanging in the air into something sharper, like a knife poised to cut. Honestly, can you sit there and say you don't wish things were different? I pressed, my heart wild and untamed. Do you ever miss what we had, or are you just fine shoving it down a memory hole? His eyes softened, and I could see a flicker of the man I once loved hidden beneath layers of self-preservation. Clara, I do miss you. But we can't just pick up where we left off. Things are different now. Different for you mean, I said, my voice cracking with pent-up emotion. You've created a reality where I don't belong, but I'm here to break that illusion. I'm going to take back everything you thought you could steal from me. He studied me through narrowed eyes, and in that silence the air shifted between us, thick with unspoken words. What does that even mean? He asked finally, a hint of genuine concern lining his voice. It means I'm going to rise, and when I do, you will be reminded of everything you tried to cast aside. I slammed my hands on the table, the sound startling a couple at the next table. You can ignore me, but you will not ignore the consequences of your actions. They are coming back, I am coming back. As I spoke, I could see doubt swimming in his gaze, a part of him wondering if the woman sitting before him was capable of the revenge that had been simmering in my heart. I could sense his apprehension, and it exhilarated me. You think a few harsh words will somehow fix what you feel is broken? He challenged, his bravado coming back. You're letting your emotions cloud your judgment. Emotion? I echoed, leaning back and crossing my arms defiantly. No, dear Derek, this is not only emotion. This is my resolve. I have harnessed everything you did into a weapon, and I plan to wield it with precision. You think I wouldn't do what it takes to take you down? You're wrong. Clara, this is futile, he sighed, running a hand through his hair, but I could see the way his confidence wavered. Futile? I questioned, a feral smile creeping across my lips. Is that what you tell yourself to sleep at night? Because, Derek, the game has just begun, and I am fully prepared to play. The tension hung in the air, crackling like static electricity, our eyes locked in an unyielding stare. It was no longer just about the past. It became a battle of wills, a fight for dominance. A challenge thrown down between two former lovers turned adversaries, both unwilling to back down. Good luck with that, Claire, he said finally, the facade of the charming man still before me beginning to crack. But I've learned to stay ahead of the game always. As have I, Derek. I leaned forward, my eyes shining with determination. And I promise you this, the truth is a tricky beast. I have tamed it, and when it roars again, I am ready. You have no idea what I am capable of. With that, I stood up abruptly, leaving him behind at the table surrounded by his coffee shop companions, all blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in the space we had just shared. The cafe door swung shut behind me, the warmth fading as the chill wrapped around me again, but I didn't care. I could feel the power surging within me, every heartbeat echoing a promise: revenge. It was my art now, and I was just beginning to paint the masterpiece. The sun hung low over the horizon, casting a molten orange light across the San Francisco skyline, embracing the entire city in an ethereal glow. I leaned against the cool metal of the railing at the edge of the rooftop, my heart beating in rhythm with the distant hum of cars far below. The salty breeze tousled my hair, carrying the scent of the ocean and reminding me of childhood summers spent building sandcastles at the beach. But that was a lifetime ago, a fragment of happiness overshadowed by the thick cloak of betrayal that now surrounded me like fog. Tonight was the night. There was no turning back. I could hear the soft echo of footsteps approaching the rooftop door. My stomach twisted in anticipation and dread, knowing that soon I would face Jacob and Manila together, the architects of my misery. A light click followed by the creak of the door opening shattered the silence, and Jacob emerged first, his tall frame silhouetted against the fading light. He looked different, more worn and haggard than the last time I had seen him. I pressed my lips together, willing myself to focus. This was not a time for weakness. Clara, he said, his voice low and almost hesitant, as though he were testing the waters. I could see a nervous glint in his eyes, a flicker of uncertainty that hadn't existed before. I didn't think you would actually come. Did you think I would just let it all go? I shot back, my tone sharper than I intended, but the sting of his betrayal still echoed through my veins. You took something from me that I can never get back, Jacob. I know, he replied, running a hand through his disheveled hair, his fingers trembling slightly. I know I messed up, Clara, but you don't understand. It was complicated. Complicated, I echoed, incredulity rising like bile in my throat. You made a choice. You chose her over me, over the life we built together. Papua New Guinea was not complicated. You wanted it and you took it. You took my heart and stomped on it like it was nothing. Jacob's gaze dropped. I wish I could take it back. I really do. You can't, I spat, my heart pounding so loudly I was convinced he could hear it too. You destroyed us and now you want pity. Do you think that I'm going to forgive you just because you look sad? Clara, that's not what I. But before he could finish, the door swung open again and Manila stepped in, making the hairs on the back of my neck prickle. She had an air of confidence that seemed almost unbearable, like she thought she owned the whole world. Her long, dark hair flowed behind her like a shadow, and her perfume, a sickly sweet blend of jasmine and something synthetic, invaded my senses like a brash, unwelcome guest. Ah, the not-so-happy couple, she said with a mocking smile, crossing her arms as she surveyed me with a casual cruelty. I must say I thought you would have moved on by now, Clara. It's been months. Is that what you tell yourself? I shot back, feeling a rush of adrenaline surge through me, fading my earlier trepidation. That I should just forget. Clara, Jacob said, his voice rising slightly as he seemed to shrink under Manila's scrutiny. This isn't helping. I think it is, actually, I replied, my lips curling into a condescending smile as I walked closer to Jacob, keeping my eyes locked on Manila. I'm here for a different reason, Manila. I'm not just some little footnote in your love story with Jacob. Manila rolled her eyes dramatically and stepped towards the edge of the rooftop, her heels clicking sharply against the concrete. Oh please, it was never a love story, more like a gross misunderstanding of emotions. You never really fit into his life, Clara, you were an afterthought. My fists clenched tightly at my sides, wanting nothing more than to knock that smug smile off her face. That's rich coming from the woman who thought she could just slip in at the last minute. Jacob stepped in between us, placing his hands up in a placating gesture. No fighting here, Clara, we came to talk, not to argue. Oh, you think that's what this is? I stepped to the side, making Jacob's hands drop uselessly, and faced Manila again, fire in my gaze. Let's talk then. Let's talk about how you deliberately went after my boyfriend while I was simply trying to show him love and understanding. Manila laughed, a cold, sharp sound. What were you to him, Clara? A crutch, a placeholder. The minute something better came along, he dropped you like yesterday's trash. I felt a sickening twist in my stomach at her words. It was true that Jacob had left, that he had chosen Manila over me in the ugliest, most public way possible. The pain hit me like a physical blow, but I wouldn't let it show. I forced myself to stand tall despite feeling as though the ground might swallow me whole. Why are you even here, Manila? I asked, my voice icy. To gloat, to rub your win in my face, or is this just a little game for you? I could ask you the same, Clara. She shot back, her eyes narrowed, a predator sizing up its prey. You're the one who keeps dragging this out. Jacob is mine now, and I'm not going anywhere. You are the ghost haunting us, face it. A beat of heavy silence hung in the air, thick with unspoken truths and buried resentments. I squashed down the mix of rage and hurt that surged through me, gathering my thoughts like a storm. I was unwillingly part of this play, and I knew I had to turn the tide. Really, I finally said, my voice steady and low. You think this is just about you two? You think that you can just walk over me and I will sit here like a doormat? Why don't you tell me what you think will happen on this rooftop? Because if you think I am here to beg for some sort of closure, you're vastly mistaken. Closure. Jacob's voice was mixed with relief and confusion. Clara, we just wanted, what did he want? To say sorry, to ask me to understand, to appeal to my empathy after everything. I cut him off with a laugh that was more bitter than amused. I don't need your closure, Jacob. You had your chance to close the door on that chapter and you slammed it in my face. Now it's time for you both to face the music. What music? Manila countered, now looking genuinely intrigued, almost playful. What do you mean? As if the heavens had bestowed inspiration upon me, the words came flowing out like water from a cracked dam. It's time for you both to learn what it feels like to be betrayed, to be left with nothing. You want to play games. Let me show you what happens when a game backfires. Jacob's eyes widened with fear, but I didn't care. I had never felt more powerful than I did in that moment. What are you talking about? He asked, his confusion growing into desperation. I think you know exactly what I mean, I said, my voice dropping to a whisper tinged with malice. You see, betrayal runs both ways. I have my ways of making people pay for what they have done. No one walks away from this feeling whole again. Oh, Clara, Jacob said, shaking his head, his voice almost pleading. You don't have to do this, just walk away. Walk away. I tossed my head back in a short, harsh laugh. What do you think I am, a coward, that I would just walk away and let you both think you've gone away with everything? You don't know me at all. Please, Manila said, her bravado faltering slightly as she grasped for understanding. What are you talking about? What are you planning? Planning? My voice dripped with irony. Oh no, darling. You see, I'm not the one making plans. You both are the ones who made your choices months ago, and now the cards have been dealt. What happens next? Well, that's entirely up to you two. The air became charged as the weight of my words settled around us, palpable and heavy. I had never seen Jacob look so lost. It was an image I relished. Ignoring a pang of guilt tugging at my heart, I took a step closer to him. Do you remember the last time you looked into my eyes? I asked softly, forcing him to return my gaze. It was the moment you chose her. There was no love in your eyes then, only regret. Clara, I never meant to hurt you, he stammered, a flicker of the old Jacob surfacing, the man who had made me laugh, who had understood me better than anyone else ever could. Too little too late, I said, brushing past him and looking directly at Manila, my own resolve hardening into something resembling steel. You think you can just hold my past over my head, play the vengeful widow? No, you underestimate me, and I think it's time that you both learn what true vengeance smells like. Vengeance, Jacob echoed frightfully. That's exactly right, I said, a sinister smile forming on my lips. And it's about to get messy. With a determined breath, I focused my gaze on them both, feeling the rush of power wash over me. I unlocked my phone, revealing a text message that would be the catalyst to my reckoning. I had been compiling evidence slowly but surely of all their betrayals. Relationships don't end, especially toxic ones, without consequences. I had exposed Manila's past lies and dug deep into Jacob's shady dealings. They were about to learn that every action has a reaction, and this time they would feel the backlash. Let me show you something, I said, holding up my phone, my heart pounding. As I pressed send, the reality of my actions came crashing down like a wave. I was no longer just Clara Jennings, a former lover, a scorned woman. I was the architect of their downfall. The final act was ready, and I would watch the play unfold with bated breath. I hope you're prepared, I whispered as the last rays of sunlight pierced through the fog, marking the end of the day and the beginning of my vengeance.